Hello, my name is King Link, and I'm doing a last look and review of a story about my uncle. First, a spoiler warning. I will be talking about a number of later levels in the game and a few story elements. This game is a bit short, so it's hard to really discuss it and its story without diving into the meat of the game. I have a written review below in the description if you wish to read it. In addition, the video for this game is showing the second level. It's the level after my first look, and it shouldn't show too many spoilers, but there are story elements that will appear. A story about my uncle starts with the player exploring his uncle's house and finding it empty.
Hello.
His uncle has disappeared previously, and the house in the level is absolutely lovely to explore. And in all honesty, almost every level in this game is beautiful. There's tons to see and explore, and I love the look of all the levels in the game. The player gets teleported to another world quickly, and from there the main gameplay elements come around, and you start with the ability to run and jump and learn how to power jump as well. Each piece is done with a button press or a hold. However, partway through the first level you get the ability to tether. From there you can point at any nearby object and pull yourself towards that object. This can be used to pull yourself to nearby rocks, and it can also be used to gain momentum to slingshot yourself around the world. If you see me doing this and think, Spider-Man, you're on the right track. That's what it feels like every time I used it. And when I'm attached to an object that was revolving around in an orbit giving me a perpetual tether, it feels even more like this, especially when I let go and go flying to the next target. There are also rocket boots, and that makes me feel like I'm using the Mark I Iron Man rocket boots. From there you can actually fly, but it's for very short distances. Still, that boost feels great when you have a couple more feet to reach, and oftentimes you do need that extra boost. The gameplay in a story about my uncle is about finding where the game wants you to go next, and then trying to reach it using your abilities. This can be frustrating with how big the world is, but you can constantly see in the video I'm quickly able to go to each location. Of course, I've played the game before, but the icons in the world give you hints about where your uncle has been before you, and so you can usually follow these points. The icons on the screen, usually where I'm pointing at next, is the indicators that I'm talking about. Now, here's a second spoiler warning. I'm going to talk about the last level's gameplay. Please jump ahead if you don't want to know much. However, I won't spoil anything about the story, and it's more about what issues showed up that I didn't like. The levels in general are great, and the final level in the game is rough. The game gets too clever and requires too much precision to be as fun as it was. There are crystals, for instance, that will recharge your tethers, but you need to hit them in midair, and you're using momentum, so oftentimes you have to shoot them with a snapshot and then shoot your next target with a snapshot. And it has to be done entirely too fast. I wish there was a midair pause that you can use when aiming your next shot. It would make the game too easy, perhaps, but without it, the final level goes from entertaining to completely frustrating. I was able to get through it relatively quick, but it's the worst level in the game by a couple magnitudes. So, back to the rest of the game. There are also collectibles in the game. There's 5 of them per level if you're going to chase them down, and they each make a nice noise when you get close to them, but overall I didn't find them that interesting to discover, and most of them are off the beaten path. I only collected a handful in the game, and I believe you will see that I go into the unlockables. That's what you get from the collectibles, but I didn't feel like any of them are necessary to unlock. So with the gameplay taken care of, we have to talk about the story in a story about my uncle. With story in the name of the game, can it really go wrong? Well, yes. Since I asked that question, of course I can. And honestly, the story here is flawed. It starts off interesting, though hints at a sad twist. and it just feels manipulative. Then you play the game and you experience a number of events, but none of the events really resonate with you. You meet Mad Maddie, as you've seen in this video, and then she disappears eventually down the line. And it's just something that happens. The game never really develops a strong narrative or connection that it could have with its world or characters. Some people say this is not what the story wants to say or do, yet I disagree. There's tons of story elements hinted at and never really talked about. The entire world you're exploring seems to be trash and refuge from the real world, but it's not talked about. There's this hint that your uncle has been gone for more than the 6 months you think, but it's not talked about. None of these elements are being discussed, just vague hints are given, and it really ruins the possibility of a strong story or narrative because the game continually avoids giving itself any real story, just events that are occurring that are not linked together in its own words. Now, there's also a fan theory out there that says, well, I won't give it away, but I read it, and while I don't like headcanon or any of the rest of fan theories where people make large leaps to prove a point, this one I have to say fits with the game. It feels intended. However, the developers have not said anything about confirming it, but the elements are so hidden away in the game, and you have to decipher a cryptic alphabet to get the clues to it. Even then, many people have seen these clues and haven't put it together. Now, the fan theory is probably the intended story of the game, but it's so well hidden I didn't even see one of these elements in my playthrough. They are there, they're definitely in the game, it's just that hidden. And that's the problem with the game. It doesn't attempt to tell any story and hides so much of it away that I'm disappointed, especially with the name like A Story About My Uncle. One final piece. Achievements in this game are quite difficult. Most are about how many tethers you use or never dying in a level, and you can see in this video that's quite hard. Personally, I ended up with only a single achievement in the game. So that's a story about my uncle. And in hindsight, the story part is the real issue for me. But still look at how I'm playing the game and constantly swinging around, and the fact is, I really enjoyed the gameplay here. I even enjoyed re-recording a 30-minute segment so that I can show it to you guys. It's exciting to play. Even the floored final level has very good moments, along with the frustrating ones. Still, this isn't a great game, but it's a better game than a good one. I can recommend it pretty easily just because of the gameplay. That means there's a clear score for this in my book. That's 3.5 out of 5. You should get it for the gameplay, but don't expect some deep narrative. There are narrative games out there like What Remains of Edith Finch or the original BioShock. Don't expect that here though. Instead, get this to feel like Spider-Man. With that said, it's time for me to go. This is King Link. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. This is my second video of the new review style using a voiceover over video game footage that I've recorded personally. If you prefer this, please leave a comment letting me know. For more information and the full review, check the description or check my site at kinglink-reviews.com. My Twitter at kinglink-reviews, that's one word. And I'll see you next time. I was going to sing the Spider-Man theme here as an outro, but I'm not a singer. But if you've never seen it, look up the Spider-Man theme by the Ramones and thank me later.